The first thing you ought to know about Steve is that Steve hates socks. Or, you know, he hates when people are wearing socks. He doesn't care about the socks on their own, he doesn't care about feet, but as soon as you put the socks on, it is on sight with Steve. If he knows you're wearing socks, he will stop at nothing to get you. The second thing you ought to know about Steve is that Steve is very snuggly. He's always following me around asking for me to pick him up, and I do. I'm always picking him up and snuggling him, which is why I was pretty quick to notice when he developed a big lump in his lower abdomen. After a trip to the vet and a bunch of tests, Steve was diagnosed with splenomegaly, which is a fancy way of saying big spleen. But that it didn't have a clear cause, and that medical intervention wasn't necessary as long as it wasn't impacting his quality of life. And that was fine, because it wasn't impacting his quality of life. Until, you know, one day, it was. The vet staff and myself had a long discussion about how I needed to prepare for the surgery. They told me to pack his favorite snack with him so he won't be hungry when he wakes up. They said he'll need to be kept separated from his friends while he heals so they don't try to gnaw his stitches off. I asked them, how do I keep him from gnawing his own stitches? And they said, they don't usually chew on their own stitches, but if he does, he'll have to wear a tube sock with armholes cut out of it. Now, you'll remember from earlier that sock wearers are his sworn enemy. I imagine that having to wear one himself would bring great shame to him. I drop him off at the clinic at 7:30 a.m. with his snack and his favorite toy. I'm told I should expect a call sometime later in the afternoon to tell me how it went. It's 11 in the morning, I'm packing their food in the freezer, and I get a phone call from the vet. He says, I'm gonna give you an early Christmas present. This was right before Christmas, by the way. He said the surgery went great, Steve is awake now, and he ate the snack you packed for him. You can come pick him up anytime after 3 p.m. The hard part is over. You can relax. At 3:30 p.m., I bring Steve home with some pain medicine and a post-op instruction sheet. Keep him from his friends for 5 days. Restrict his exercise for 10 days. Don't let him gnaw, lest he succumb to the dreaded tube sock. For the first time in a long while, he was able to walk again, with his hind end a little too tall because he was used to more weight in the back. I slept by him that night to make sure that he didn't have to wear that sock. In the next few days, he mostly did a lot of sleeping, while his friend Oatmeal stood like 1 inch away from his cage, I guess just wishing for him to get better. After what felt like an eternity, but in reality was 5 days, Steve could finally see his beloved friends again. And, well... oh my goodness. Steve, alright, you gotta chill out, So now he's with his friends again, and they follow him around to love on him and kiss him and cuddle him and just be around him while he recovers. His best friend, Princess, especially sticks by him and sleeps on top of him like a little bed. The vet calls me sometime later with Steve's pathology report. He said, I'm going to give you a late Christmas present, and rattled off a bunch of medical stuff, but the important part was that there was no evidence of neoplasia, which is a fancy way of saying he's cancer-free, and that he can now be considered fully cured. It's a few months later, I'm working at my desk, and I'm wearing socks because it's cold. I hear those little footsteps getting louder and louder until I feel sharp little teeth and claws on my toes. And that's fine. I'm just glad to hear those footsteps again, and I'm glad that he can still stay by me to make sure that I don't have to wear socks.